Thank you so much for the invitation to be here today. It's truly an honor to participate in the summit and share with you some of the developments that we have been doing at Cornell. My name is Anna Krieger. I'm a physician at the Center for Sleep Medicine, and I have my colleague here, Dr. Matt Eben, who is also a specialist in sleep disorders. And we want to share with you some of the concepts behind our company that was just newly founded, BioSleep Technologies. Are you familiar with that? All right? Snoring. So snoring is really a very prevalent problem. And we know now that over 30 million Americans probably suffer from sleep apnea, which is a condition where the airway really closes down during a sleep and really don't breathe well and you lack oxygen. And what is striking to see is that over 85% of the people out there with sleep apnea are yet to be diagnosed. So this is a major challenge. However, it's easy to understand because the testing that we currently do for sleep apnea is very cumbersome. As a sleep specialist, we know we have to see patients multiple times. They need to come over, get an overnight study, either in the center or be sent home with a wire of equipment that sometimes is very hard for people to do. And this really keeps people away from being tested. It really happened to me. Several years ago, my own husband was snoring like that. And what happened was that I kept on asking him, maybe he needs to be tested. But it took me a long time to really convince him. Eventually he did. And this is what we saw, severe sleep apnea. And what was happening is that his brain was really lacking oxygen at night. So from the scientific perspective, imagine here we are breathing and walking and living our lives during the daytime really well. But during the nighttime, things can happen. And when we lack oxygen, people may have stroke, they may have heart attacks. And in his case, he was an otherwise healthy individual carrying all this risk, and we just didn't know. So I felt really bad, and I said, we need to start on a mission to find a way to diagnose people much more quickly and much more easily without the tremendous cost that is involved. So what we decided to do was when I moved to Cornell 10 years ago, I partnered with Dr. Eben and we said, you know what, let's look into the physiology and the data that we collect and see if we can identify a way to diagnose sleep apnea much more easily. And then we identify one of the signals that we usually record in our monitoring equipment that can easily distinguish normal from abnormal. And we looked into this data in over 1,500 patients, and we're able to determine that with over 90% of accuracy, we identify even mild cases of sleep apnea. Needless to say, we're very excited. We published our work, and then we worked with the Center for Technology Licensing in identifying the best way to proceed with our idea. We also worked with the School of Engineering, and what we decided was that there is actually a hardware available in the market that can actually capture all the signals that we need. In fact, I'm wearing one of those. And we can then bring out our software solution into the cloud on demand and be able to interpret the data and identify if people actually have sleep apnea or not. And this could be done as an easy solution at the comfort of people's home, again, at a very, very low cost. So our idea is really to take on this market and really save the economy millions and millions of dollars that are now being wasted because not only of the health care issues, but also because of accidents, and we hear that in the news all the time. We also see people that are losing work productivity and missing work and developing a lot of issues that really are impeding our development in society. So we want to challenge this and give access to everybody with our new technology company and become really a household name in the country. Thank you so much.
From a regulatory perspective, are there any hurdles potentially that your business would have to go through to get, say, government approval for your product?
Yeah, so there are FDA issues involved, and Matt can give you some more idea because he worked with the FDA in a different product in the past, and we're looking into with our partnership with this new company in order to approach that.
Because it is a new technology, it's actually de novo approval. So we met with the FDA. We know all the benchmarks we have to achieve to get approval. So we have to do 3 clinical trials and show its efficacy, which we're confident that we can do based on our large study that we've already done.
And how are you thinking about sales and distribution?
So this is a commercially available device that is already out there in the community. People can purchase at Costco, they can purchase on Amazon. So our idea is really to be able to work on the back scene, so be able to implement something in the cloud where they have now the option on an application to decide to get a report or not. So that will be the piece that we work with the FDA in order to generate a yes or no, or even a quantification of how severe the apnea is. So we think that using this strategy would make our idea so much easier because we use something that is already well accepted in the community.
Is there the opportunity for this to be more like a consumer product that simply says you might have sleep apnea and the consumer can then go to a doctor for a further investigation diagnosis, or does it have to be regulated in the way that you suggest?
Well, I think it's very versatile. It could actually be used on both. It could be used as a screening tool that doctors could recommend to patients. They could even have the device and give out to patients to use. It could be used in large groups, let's say in professional athletes. They could have one device that everybody could share and use, or it could be just directly to the consumer, where people could be in their privacy. Even people that don't feel comfortable going to a doctor or having the test done in a laboratory facility, they would have access to this.
Who are your competitors in this field? Is it just sleep clinics, or are there other people trying to bring similar devices to market?
I wouldn't consider sleep clinics competitors because I think our idea is to tap on this untapped market because we really do not have enough doctors or centers out there to see everybody. There are really no great competitors for this specific niche because we have over 40 years of combined expertise. We have tapped on 20,000 patients that we've seen and tested. So I think we have really a big advantage in the market, in all honesty.
Right. All the other devices right now are multi-channel devices, and that's why we require a de novo approval through the FDA. So all the other devices require reusable probes. They're more expensive to use, so we don't really have any direct competitors per se.
Is there an actual optimum age for testing for sleep apnea? Is this something where you can test as young as preschool or elementary school, et cetera?
We're focusing on adults because the signal that we use is much more predictive for the adults. We haven't really evaluated that for children. So I would say age 16 or 18 and above, and will depend on what we get from the FDA as well.
Right, so there's a different scoring criteria for sleep apnea of kids versus adults. So our formula is specifically designed for adult sleep apnea. We wouldn't initially go for a pediatric approval. That's something that we could do in the future, but we would have to develop a new formula because it is a different system of scoring.
And I would also add that the beauty of this is that it's not necessarily a one-time procedure. People could use that different times. Let's say if you're being treated for sleep apnea, you want to know if the treatment is effective, you might want to be monitored. If people gain weight or they lose weight, if they go out and they drink more than what they typically have been doing, they can actually get retested. So it could be that on-demand testing that people could do, and they can just, let's say on the application, allow to charge an extra fee for the repetitive test to be performed. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.